Well, Andrew, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
I just finished going through the Discord chat, and wow, it's really incredible some of the great conversation that's happening right now around the consensus. And it made me go down to my basement actually and grab this ASIC board from an old mining setup I had for Bitcoin, and think about how out of date this idea is becoming. With warehouses full of tens of thousands of these things that become archaic after 6 months. So very cool there. There's going to be a lot more consensus or talk about consensus for the burn idea. So great questions from the Discord group there. We had 18 awesome questions, but I know we have a limited amount of time today with you. So we've summed it down, and again, if we have more time in the future, we can keep going through them if it works out well and everyone likes it. So I'm just
Absolutely.
if it's okay with you, I'm just going to start with the first question that came from the community.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, so the first one was, given the mainnet was meant to launch in Q4 of 2021, is the team still on track for quarter one, quarter two of 2022?
All right. Yeah. So we're still in the process of figuring that out. What we want to do is carefully map out all of the projects that remain to be done. Now, when we started out on this journey, there was so much work to be done that it would have taken us so long to plan it all that it would have cut off months from the timeline, right? So we leveraged our experience and our knowledge to give an estimate of when we'd be able to complete all of this work. And then we worked as fast as we could.
Yeah.
And then we got to where we did and realized, wow, there's a lot we didn't think about. There's a lot more to a launch than even just delivering the mainnet features. And so the reason why we made the announcement we did was to give us some breathing room. Now that we're so much farther along, we're able to map out the remaining work that needs to be done and size it, figure out what blocks what else, what can be deferred until after the mainnet launch, and what really has to be done prior to the mainnet launch. And we're still in the process of doing that because this takes time. This is one of the things people really underestimate, is that you're always walking this balance of how much do I plan and how much do I just work, because planning subtracts from work. And so we are still in the process of doing that, but we should complete that process fairly soon, and then be able to, what we want to do going forward is not tell the community this is when this major event will happen. What we want to do is show them with fairly high resolution all the work that needs to be done, how much or how little each one of those pieces of work is, or how big or how small those pieces of work are, so that the community can see the work that we're doing, see how much is left to be done, and then make projections for themselves. So that's what we're doing right now.
Very interesting. So the traditional roadmap idea, this is always, I mean, over the years I've watched this idea. Every website puts out these roadmaps, and in the end of the day, they're very rarely achieved in the exact order of operations that they predict. So the idea of keeping transparent to your community is pretty cool, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that, because they're going to be able to put themselves in your shoes and in the team's shoes and see what's really going on behind the veil, right?
Yeah, and I think they're going to see how technical the work really is. And I think, in my opinion, this whole roadmap idea, as I tend to see it implemented, to me feels very waterfall-like, which is the old way of developing software, where you're like, oh, this is all the big stuff we need to do, and we're gonna map it all out, and we're gonna do it. And Agile isn't about that. It's about doing 2-week sprints and moving as quickly as possible and adapting. Now, that being said, I understand that community members need, what I think community members want is a clear picture of the vision behind the project and estimates about when pieces of those of that vision will materialize. And that's not exactly the same thing. I think what we've learned is that that's not exactly the same thing as all the features that are left to be done. For example, I think a lot of people want us to say, like, when is bridging on your roadmap? And when is it DEX on your roadmap? And those have very little to do with us or the work that we need to do, because those are going to be user contracts, which isn't to say that they're not reasonable questions, but I think what we really need to do and what people want us to do is help them get clarity on that and understand, what are we doing and what do we want developers to be doing and what are we willing to work with developers on, and how can we form a cohesive and coherent narrative with our decentralized community. And that's really the hard part of this whole thing. Is the reason why so many projects are so centralized is and give such clear roadmaps and guidance is because they're saying, we're going to do all of this work, we control everything, and we can guarantee that all of those steps are going to be made as long as we have enough money, and somehow they never seem to do it anyway. And so a lot of this boils back down to how we do everything the decentralized way and how much more unpredictable and sometimes difficult doing things that way is. I mean, we don't have millions and millions of dollars in ICO money. We didn't do an ICO. We opted for a decentralized distribution, and that necessarily means effectively that we need to better leverage the community, and the community needs to be more active in stepping up and contributing. Otherwise, it's not going to get done, because we can do what we're going to do, right? But we don't, at what we've said we're going to do. But right, it either takes hundreds of millions to do all the things, all the bridging and all the DEXs and all the dApps and all of that stuff. It either takes hundreds of millions of dollars raised from VCs or through an ICO, or it takes a decentralized community coming together to build this stuff. And that's the thing about KOINOS, is that in my opinion, it's really about this idea of building, starting with a decentralized community and figuring out together how to work together to build out this ecosystem, which is fundamentally different than how everybody else does it. And what that means as far as the community member is concerned is that it comes with more responsibility to the community member. With decentralization comes responsibility. You need to add value. You need to figure out how you can contribute. And I think that the most important point I want to make here is that the way we view our responsibility within the ecosystem is being here to help others who want to learn how to market, to help others who want to learn how to develop applications, and importantly, to help others who want to learn blockchain development. That's our primary role here, building the mainnet and helping others to enter this decentralized world.
That's excellent. And it's actually one of the things my friend, when he sent me this information about your project, I thought back to Bitcoin originally and this emission.
That's
right?
The ultimate compliment, the highest praise, yeah.
Right. And I thought back to that idea that, oh man, it's like, here you are. Now it's either going to work or not, but it's really up to you. And that's excellent. Okay, well, John.
Yeah, and I think what I always saw as missing from all of the other projects, from Bitcoin, from Ethereum, was a company that was there to help keep the ball going, right? Like, love Bitcoin, obviously, love Ethereum, right? But you need to have an organization there from the beginning to help things along. I think that that's what I always saw as the ideal use case for a corporation within a larger decentralized organization. And if you look at what did come along, and I thought this is what attracted me to Steemit, and that's what I thought Steemit was doing, and it was. I think it just made a lot of mistakes. But if you look at Ethereum, well, and I guess Ethereum did it with consensus to a degree, but I still didn't see where I fit in. Consensus to me seemed very developer oriented, engineer oriented, and I guess in a sense, consensus seemed very engineer oriented. We're more developer oriented. And that might seem like a small distinction, but it's actually huge.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for that great answer. We'll pound into number two here. This
Do it, and I'll try to tighten them up.
No, it's good. It's great information, and I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone else does too. We can do this in the future too and get through all of them. So number two, when is the team going to shift its focus from building to advertising? Now, you might have answered that a little bit, but
yeah, this is a kind of a question that we get a lot that is really weird if you think about it. It's a really weird question. And a lot of these questions and a lot of the questions that we get, in my opinion, boil down to I'm a speculator and I have my pet list of things that I'm looking for in a project that make me feel better as a speculator. And so, I'm always trying to get to the deeper truth, and the answer to the real question that people are asking. And
when am I going to make the money? That's the question that people are.
Yeah, which is fine. I have no problem with people who are self-interested, but especially people who are looking at long-term value creation and wealth capture, because in my experience, it's impossible to make money as a speculator over the long run.
Especially with the attitude that people have generally in the crypto space. It's pump dump attitude. It's race in, race out. It's the gamble of it with no plausible return.
Yeah, exactly. It's as possible to make money doing that as it is playing blackjack.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, you can point to specific people who make money doing that, but they were just lucky, of course, in any big enough pool of people doing any activity, right? But if you invest in value, if you participate in value creation over the long term, your odds of making money go up dramatically. And as a team who is trying to build a valuable project, we obviously can't make decisions based on what speculators want.
Of course.
Yeah. So speculators. So but to answer the question, right? We are an engineering focused company. We're a product focused company. My marketing, my background is marketing. So it's not that I have anything against marketing, against advertising. In fact, I think this is one of our key advantages, is that without any money spent on marketing or advertising, we've managed to attract a ton of attention and acquire a market cap that is significantly higher than many other projects that probably advertise a lot.
Yes.
And so if you divide our market cap by our ad spend.
Yeah. That's why the one thing I noticed in the Discord was there's no indication of bots in the Discord. These are all people who want to be there seemingly. And unfortunately, so many of these group project chats are just filled with that speculation or bots or anything like that. So it's quality over quantity is what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, well, and that's definitely the result of a lot of hard work that we've been doing all the way since the beginning. But to answer the question, I'll say we're never going to shift focus from building to advertising. I do like the way you phrase the question, because that is the question that we get a lot. And we will always be focused as we possibly can be on product and increasing our speed, increasing the speed of iteration of our product, which is how you maximize value creation, right? I'm sure Tesla spends money on advertising. I mean, they don't spend
Very little, very little.
right. Tesla spends very little on marketing, but their entire organization does agile practices, including on the line. And they produce more changes to their automobiles on a daily basis than most car makers do in two to 4 years.
Yeah, I
Right?
get an update on my Tesla almost every week, and even if they're minor corrections, they're constantly getting better and better. Like I have 20% more range in the cold Canadian winter than I did last year just through software.
Wow.
Right? Like,
Wow. And those are software. I was actually talking about hardware.
yeah.
They make more changes to the actual cars themselves. They make changes, I think, every day.
Yeah.
And that's because I think they practice 3-day sprints, which is crazy. We do 2-day sprints. But anyway, the point is that they produce so many more cars this year than last year, and the quality of those cars goes up, and the rate at which they're improving the cars goes up. And so when you whatever ads, first of all, the cars become the best advertisement for the product, and then whatever advertising spend that you do put on into it just is that much more effective. And that's the route that we plan to take, making the product better, delivering a fantastic product with an amazing user experience, making a blockchain that people love using. That's what 100% our focus is, making a blockchain that people love using. And then and that's how you maximize word of mouth. And in my experience as a marketing professional, I used to be in real estate, and I learned firsthand. And if people disagree with this, then they just really fundamentally disagree with me. Word of mouth is far and away the best advertising.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And that's how we've grown till now, I think,
Yeah, and it's I mean, I've even started telling people about KOINOS, right? And I said, this is a patient one, this is a long one, but keep your eye on it, right? This is one to put into your little flag book to say, watch that, And that's great.
Thank you. But they all wind up being long,
Yeah, even if they're promised short, right? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that I got to be careful what I say here. Don't want to raise people's expectations, but I think when you look back over time at our project, we will actually be fast, because we focus on being fast and getting faster and the product. And so, whereas other people, they promise that they're going to do just this infinity of things, and then you look back at it and it's like, well, that took a crap load of time. I mean, what took 5 years? I mean, Cardano, Polkadot.
Well, Dot was 2016, right? And it only really started rolling off in late 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
But yes. Very interesting. I like the idea that it's not going to ever shift from development, because that means that, again, like the models we were talking about of other companies, it's going to keep getting better over time and more efficient.
Well, one of the things that I learned from my experience at Steemit is that developers are a really great demographic to have to market to, because they're very objective. Does this make my life easier as a developer? And as we were, my job was effectively to market Steem. And Steem wasn't really designed for developers. And so part of the problem with that blockchain was that we were trying to kind of reverse engineer everything and make it for developers because it had done a couple of things right, or we had done a couple of things right with it that made it very appealing to developers. But that was like almost accidental. It really wasn't meant to be a blockchain for other applications to build on. But because it had these simple primitives and it was fast and it was feeless, scratch that. Because it was fast and feeless, developers started building on it.
Yeah.
And started making it work. And so we actually had to pivot and start being like, oh yeah, we need good documentation. We need an API. And that having to pivot really was this problem that we never got back around to. Like even things like client libraries, where we would just take client libraries that were developed by by community developers and kind of just like accept them and use them, which is not to say that we wouldn't do that now, but it was all about like trying to pivot back and remake Steam into something that developers would like using. And so we were walking this difficult line of like, at first we were trying to target users, but it was for the right user. They just liked the value proposition and they used, and for everyone else, it was this Herculean task. But for the right developer, you would just be like, it's fast, it's feeless, and they would, right, you're telling a developer who's interested in leveraging a blockchain the features that they want. And you're just saying, here they are, and they go, great, point me to the documentation, point me to the technical solution, and then you have to have that there. And developers, and the opportunity that I saw there, that we are much more effectively exploiting with KOINOS Group because we re-architected, because we built this blockchain from scratch with developers in mind, is that developers are very low-cost demographic to market to. They're easy to find. They're a small group of people. Yeah. They're easy to find. They're easy to connect with, and you can just tell them about your technical solution, and they go great. And it either has the stuff that they want or it doesn't. And so when we were making this decision, when we were, brainstorming the product, brainstorming the company, the logic was effectively, are developers getting what they need from blockchains now? If not, can we deliver it? And if we deliver it, will they just get it? And at the very least, we were like, are they getting a feeless blockchain that they can use for dApps right now? And we're like, no. Okay, so if we do that, right, in the worst case scenario, all we have to do is go to developers and say, feeless smart contract. Yeah. Now, right?
You'll get all the hands up, right?
Yeah. And then we said, well, can we deliver it? And that's where we took the work that we did on Steam and we said, yes, this can be reapplied in the general purpose blockchain context. And so, boom, we're off to the races. We've got something. And then modular upgradability came along, and then we saw what we could do as far as language support. And so it kind of spiraled in a good way, in a way that was actually very exciting to experience and see happening. But it all started with that, do we have this really powerful value proposition that sells itself? So we have advertising baked in, right?
Yeah.
And actually, sorry, the last thing I'll say is that one of the kind of funny, weird, I don't know, surprising things is that the feeless implementation that we have, even if it was not technically superior, which we believe it to be, we believe it's more efficient, that it pushes the price of transactions down while improving user experience and protecting the blockchain better.
From attack, yeah.
Even if it didn't do that, it would have been worth doing for the marketing.
Just to get it going in the first place.
Because look at what people say. They go, feeless smart contracts. That's all you have to say to people, and they go, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. I get that." And so that's the better way to do advertising and marketing, is to have it built into the product by having a really compelling feature. And we actually have a number of compelling features. And the hard part has actually been building that narrative, forming that language, so that we can broadcast that narrative. And yeah, marketing and advertising will eventually fit in, but it'll be a small part of our budget that will be deployed as it is in any product-focused company, whether like Apple.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love the idea of it. You were totally right. We knew that we'd only get through a couple of questions in our half-hour time slot here. But if everyone out there really enjoys these, I'm sure me and Andrew can get together again and keep going through these questions. Excellent questions coming from the community, really high quality stuff. Again, thank you, Andrew Levine. For anybody who doesn't know, first time watching, Andrew is the CEO of KOINOS Group, and take a look at their project. Make sure to join the Discord, and thank you again, Andrew.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Perfect. Talk soon.